Welcome, everyone. I'm Chris from the American University of Sharjah, and it is a great pleasure to introduce our keynote for today, Renee Hobbs. Renee is an American scholar and educator who works in the field of media literacy education. She is professor of communication studies at the Harrington School of Communication and Media and founder of the Media Education Lab at the University of Rhode Island, where she co-directs the Graduate Certificate in Digital Literacy. Her book, Mind Over Media, Propaganda Education for a Digital Age, won the 2021 Prose Award from the American Association of Publishers. She has published 12 books and more than 150 scholarly articles on digital and media literacy, and secured over $4 million in grant and philanthropic funding to advance the theory and practice of media literacy education in the US and around the world. So please, with a heartwarming AMICAL welcome, thank you, Renee, for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here. Maha, Alex, Chris, Noor, thank you for inviting me to join your community and to make some comments and invite you to reflect on all of the new literacies. So let me see if I can fire up my technology and we'll get started. Let's see if I can fire up my technology and we'll get started. Today, if you like, you can access my slides at the URL that Chris is going to put into the chat. That's bit.ly/AMICAL. My talk is called Create to Learn, Advancing Collaboration and Creativity with Digital Texts, Tools, and Technologies. Of course, one of the things that we do at the beginning of talks like this is we kind of lay the groundwork and we identify the common ground underneath us. And with this rapidly changing digital and media environment, we have a fascinating array of issues about which we have common ground. Of course, we share meaning through symbols that come in many forms, including visual and digital forms. We are living in an attention economy where we have an wide array of choices as consumers of media and as creators of media. The time that we spend with media is a commodity. It's got value in the marketplace because our attention is a very valuable product. Of course, in terms of the context that we're living in right now, all around the world, we are seeing a rise in movements for racial justice. We are seeing, of course, the legacy of our, I'm putting this in quotes, fake news phenomenon. And of course, all over the world, the rising interest in the problem of fake news is substantial and meaningful, relevant to us as educators and librarians and as technologists. Of course, we are swimming in a sea of propaganda. If you live in India right now, the propaganda is off the charts. But that's probably true just about everywhere, as propaganda is an important part of the democratic process, and one way that people activate emotions to influence behaviors. Slightly more new is this radical rise in conspiracy culture, where a malevolent evil force is thought to be the cause of the world's woes. And of course, in our country, we've just survived an insurrection, right? Where an armed group stormed the Capitol in a dramatic attempt to distort the democratic and destroy the democratic process. So all of these contextual factors shape the way we think about digital media information literacy. The one that we tend to be really focused on at the moment is disinformation, right? This is the intentionally false information that has a devastating impact on our attitudes and our behaviors. I am sure that many of you have had spent a lot of time in the past year or two focusing on helping people gain resilience to the dangers of disinformation. But you know what? As a teacher, I remain steadfastly optimistic about the future of students who thrive in a context replete with, well, all those terrible things. This is my student, Sanjay. He just graduated from the University of Rhode Island. And what's unique about Sanjay is he is the first person I've taught who experienced digital and media literacy education when he was in elementary school, when he was in middle school, when he was in high school, and of course, when he came to university. So that's exciting for me as a person who's been focused on helping elementary and secondary teachers integrate digital and media literacy into the curriculum. Wow. Sanjay's backstory was fascinating to me. And of course, my own students, here they are in COM 250, which is a general education course at the University of Rhode Island. Based on my informal sample of these kids, about 1 in 3 have had some exposure to media literacy in the elementary or secondary grades. And my informal survey of American students also bears out by the work of Joe Kahn from the University of California at Riverside, who's done a large survey of over 3,000 teenagers and young adults, and he finds roughly the same amount. 1 in 3 American young people has had some exposure to digital or media literacy before they get to college, So that's pretty exciting news. Now, during the pandemic, we all made this gigantic pivot, didn't we? As whether we were doing digital learning or not, we made a pivot using the power of Zoom to what I call real-time learning. I really hate those words, synchronous and asynchronous. I find that teachers get them confused. I get them confused. Real-time learning happens just the way we are today, gathered together around the screen, but we're also making powerful use of anytime learning with a platform or LMS. The one I'm using here is called Pathright. Is a really powerful, together these tools are really powerful ways to implement digital learning in ways that have real value for teachers and learning, and learners. And we're all experimenting right now with what is the interplay between real-time Zoom dialogue and anytime learning that can happen sort of without the barriers of time. We're all discovering and learning what the affordances of these technologies are right now. And AMICAL provides an opportunity for people to come together and share some of their insights. So that is really great. But Maha and Alex asked me to talk about all the terms we use. So sometimes when I talk about all the terms that we use, I make an analogy to members of the family. You know, your uncle, your cousin, your mother-in-law. Information literacy, digital literacy, media competence, critical media literacy, computational literacy, news literacy, visual literacy, digital humanities, media and information literacy, media education. I mean, what a list. all the different terms that are used and why are there so many and what's going on with this, all the members of the family. These days, it can seem a little bit like the members of the family are in a race, right? So sometimes I wake up in the morning to headlines that say, news literacy is better than all the other literacies. Sometimes I wake up in the morning to a research that says information literacy is better than all the other literacies. Sometimes I wake up to news that says the way you've been doing it is all wrong. You have to do it this way or you're a loser. That discourse is very robust right now in our communities, plural, and I want to interrogate that a little bit. So let me invite you to pull out your cell phone. I know it's close at hand. Mine is too. Do you see my daughter and my new grandbaby? There we are, right there. Oh yeah. Pull out your cell phone and navigate to slido.com. And when you're there, type in the number 718368. Let's take a poll, shall we? Let's see if this works. Hold on. Hold on. I think it's going to work. Oops. Oh, come on now. Oh, just a second. Now, why is that not working? Hold on here. I'm doing something wrong. It's early in the morning here. Let me see if I can figure that out.
It seems to be working, Renee.
Yeah.
Is it working? Are you able to take the poll?
Yeah,
Yes,
it just
yes.
opens up on the Q&A, but if you click on the poll, you get to see it. It's working
Beautiful. I do see that some people are starting to put their choices in. So I'm really happy about that. I just want to find a way to present it on the screen. So let's see if I can do that right now. There we go. I think I can. Hold on just a second. Great, 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 great. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you right now. And let's see, what do the results show? Can you guys see that on the screen right now?
Yes, the QR code. Mhm.
Oh, and can you see the results?
I
No.
am not seeing the
Okay,
result.
hold on here.
Maybe you
Hold
need
on,
to be
I
in
realize
present
that I
mode.
have to stop share.
Oh.
I have to share the screen and I have to share the whole screen like that. Let me try that and see what happens there. Let's see if I can see that. There we go. Can you guys see that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at here. We have 28 people so far have taken the quiz. You were asked to rank order. Which of these terms do you professionally identify with? And we can see that this group identifies strongly with information literacy, digital and media literacy, digital humanities. Coming in a strong fourth is digital pedagogy. Oh. Critical literacy, and there's a chunk of people who identify something else.
Yeah.
Right? There's a chunk of people who identify as something else. Okay, that is great. So thank you so much for that. I want to talk a little bit about the implications of that. And hold on just a second. Go back to my screen sharing. So one thing for sure is that whatever you call it, there is a set of knowledge expectations about what you should know or what you do know if you are a member of the discourse community. If you are a member of the discourse community in information literacy, you're very likely familiar with the ACRL framework. If you use the term digital literacy, you're probably familiar with the concept of participatory culture. If your favorite term is news literacy, then you're familiar with the concept of verification. And if your term of art is algorithm literacy, then you're familiar with the concept of surveillance capitalism. And if your term of art is media literacy, then you're probably familiar with the concept of semiotics. So one thing we understand clearly is that these terms come from a discourse community. When you enter into this discourse community, there's a set of concepts and ideas that are part of the toolbox, as it were. Now, what's fascinating is to look at the nuances of how these toolboxes are constructed. The ACRL framework for information literacy takes as its toolbox a set of claims about the nature of knowledge. These are epistemological claims, right? This is heavy duty philosophy here, right? And they're really important claims about research as inquiry, scholarship as a conversation, search as strategic, and my favorite, authority as constructed and contextual, right? But different toolboxes take different forms. Take a look at the Digital Citizenship Resource Platform developed by the Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society. They've got, well, it looks like 14 boxes, enough for a college class, right? Where topics like computational thinking and digital economy and artificial intelligence and information quality and privacy and reputation. And you get the feeling from this toolbox that this is heavy duty content. There's stuff you have to know about security, about privacy, about law, about digital economy. This toolbox is focused on the content knowledge that you need to have digital citizenship, to engage in digital citizenship. Now, the International Society of Technology Education has a toolbox that is, shall we say, values oriented. Notice these values statements. I evaluate the accuracy, perspective, and validity of digital media and social posts. I make informed decisions about how to prioritize my time and activities online and off. These are I am aware of my online actions and know how to be safe and create safe spaces for others online. This toolbox is very much oriented to values and behaviors, right? There's not much knowledge focus at all in this toolbox. And take a look at the toolbox provided by the DQ Institute in Singapore. Whoa, it's got the kitchen sink. There's emotional intelligence and digital safety and AI literacy, you name it, it's in there, the colors of the rainbow, right? So here's one thing we understand for certain is whatever these frameworks and toolboxes are, they represent a moving target. They are changing in response to changes in technology, culture, and society, which is partly why I like to be ecumenical about whatever we call it. Whatever we call it, it will involve a constellation of competencies, right? Like curation, search, credibility analysis, creativity, multimodal writing, dialogue, ethical reasoning, activism, and knowledge of cultural, political, economic, and social context. The way I like to think about it, it's really about a set of learning experiences. It's a set of learning experiences that binds whatever you want to call it together. So to that end, I find it very helpful not to be hierarchical about which of the terms is better, who's inside, who's outside, what do you call it, definitions. I sidestep all of that because I actually want to take it a bit deeper. I want to think about these constellation of competencies in relation to what is taught and what is learned in higher education. Of course, long ago, Elliot Eisner, in his book called The Educational Imagination, he identified 3 kinds of curriculum. And I find this framework very useful. The explicit curriculum are the subjects that are taught and the knowledge and skills that students are expected to learn. The implicit curriculum are the lessons that arise from the culture and the behaviors, attitudes, and expectations that characterize the culture. And the null curriculum is the knowledge and options that learners are not afforded and the skills that are not valued as part of the intellectual repertoire. For almost my entire professional career, I've been absolutely fascinated with why some competencies are not formally taught in the university. And I've been fascinated about how instructors bring competencies that matter to them into whatever they teach, whatever subject, whatever discipline. I've been fascinated about that process. So I'm interested in the things students learn by living today. They learn a lot about digital media and technology from the implicit curriculum. They learn experiencing social media today, for example. But I'm also interested in filling the gaps to address the competencies that we care about, information literacy and digital media literacy and all the rest, news literacy. I'm interested in how those come in to any subject for any teacher and what triggers that to occur. Now, educators and librarians at AMICAL, you know, you're change agents, right? And so I'm going to share with you a strategy that I've found to be very effective in creating a place of reflection for people to consider why they make the curriculum choices they make. So this is an activity I now call What's Your Why? What's your why? So let me share for you a little bit about what's my why, right? The 2 concepts that make me super happy are relevance and awareness of constructedness. Let me say more about each of those for a second. I have this big idea that education should be relevant to people's lived experience with digital media, mass media, and popular culture. Perhaps that's because in my experience in higher education, so much of what I learned at university was irrelevant to the world I actually inhabited. And boy, did I have to work hard to try to make connections. I had to do all the work to make connections because the faculty were not, right? They were so passionate about their thing, but they were so unable to make the connection to what my lived experience was growing up with popular culture and television and cable TV and all the rest. So I became passionately interested in how education can bridge be a bridge between home and school, between ideas, the life of the mind, and the lived experience of everyday life. At the same time, I am passionate about my appreciation for how language, media, and technology can create unreal realities. Now, if you look at this image, of course, it makes unreal realities into a kind of a monster, half man, half monster, right? And certainly language, media, and technology, with its ability to create worlds of imagination at the very heart of why we tell stories, is to create unreal realities that somehow comment on or exemplify the problems of being human, right? For me, when people are aware of the constructed nature of language, media, and technology, they're better judges of the unreal realities that are present, well, in our fiction, in our news, in our social media, and in our literature, in our poetry, in our drama, right? In all the ways we share meaning. So these two concepts are super important to me. And if you take a look at the work that I've done, you can see them all over the place. They're in Mind Over Media, my book about teaching about propaganda. They're in Create to Learn. They're in my media literacy textbook for undergraduate students called Media Literacy in Action. These two ideas, they really are at the center of my pedagogy. They're why I'm so crazy about concepts like representation, media effects, semiotics, political economy, and interpretation and meaning. These ideas help make the connection to relevance and help make the connection to being aware of the constructed nature of media representations. And those two values drive my pedagogy as a person who values collaboration, creativity, inquiry, metacognition, autonomy, and being a lifelong learner. So all of the choices in how I teach and what I teach come from my deep why. So, but 9 years ago, when I started the Summer Institute in Digital Literacy, I found myself in rooms filled with people who did not share my same values, right? Who did not have my same why, right? These were people from all walks of life. They were K-12 teachers, they were college professors, they were school, public, and academic librarians. They were activists, they were community, they were politically engaged community members, they were media professionals. How to invite a diverse group of people to reflect upon their motivations? Well, we came up with a very clever tool. We wrote about it in 2017 in an article in the British Journal of Educational Technology. It's called Motivations for Digital Learning. In the chat, I think you'll see a link to the website, setyourmotivation.com. It's a 48-item quiz you can take that will determine for you what's your motivation. We developed this after some research with my colleague, Silke Graf at the University of Würzburg in Germany, and my colleague, Sait Tuzel in Turkey. So we tested this instrument on Germans, Americans, and Turkish educators, and we think it's pretty cool. It's kind of like a horoscope. Do you know about the horoscopes? The idea that, you know, your date of birth determines your sign, and you might be a Libra with a little bit of Leo. You might be a Sagittarius. You might be a Gemini. We knew how much people loved quizzes that give them insights onto their identity. So in developing our instrument, we kept that in mind, came up with some catchy terms for inviting people to reflect on their motives. I'm going to review the 12 motivations of the digital learning motivations quiz. And instead of taking the quiz, I would just like you, as you hear these motivations, to think about which one or which two feel most like you. All right? Give me a thumbs up if you know what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through 12 motivations, and I'm going to ask you which of these feels right, just intuitively, like feels like it's you. Now, it might be more than one. That's okay. You know, think about your top 1, 2, or 3. Here we go. Are you a professional? If you are, you develop learners' knowledge, creative competencies, and practical skills as future authors, artists, experts, and professionals. Are you a techie? If so, you appreciate how digital media platforms, tools, and technologies enable students to engage deeply in authentic learning. Are you an activist? If so, you support student civic engagement by using media and technology to address real-world issues. Are you a teacher 2.0? If so, you help learners use media and technology to connect with and learn from others. Are you a tastemaker? If so, you want learners to appreciate culturally important media in history, the arts, literature, and sciences. Are you a professor? If so, you help learners gain knowledge and skills by using media and technology to advance learning. Are you an alt? If so, you challenge learners with alternative ways of finding, using, thinking about creative media that's off the beaten path. Are you a trendsetter? If so, you meet students where they live by connecting the classroom with the media and technology they use every day. Are you a watchdog? If so, you help learners think about the economic and political contexts of media and technology as systems that shape our lives. Are you a demystifier? If so, you pull back the curtain on how media and technology are constructed by asking how and why questions. Almost done. Are you a spirit guide? If so, you help learners use media and technology in ways that support their social and emotional well-being. Are you a motivator? If so, you cultivate students' autonomy as independent learners who go where their creativity takes them. Now, what I'd like to do next, as you start to reflect on your motives for using digital media technologies, is to think about how your motives shape your instructional practices and choices. This is based on a little bit of that research that I reported to you from the British Journal of Educational Technology, but I thought it would be useful to give some real world examples of this. We're going to take a look at just a minute or two of 4 different people in higher education. And we're going to see if we can guess their motivation. We're going to see if we can reflect on what is motivating the choices they're making. All right, let's begin. As you watch this short video, consider what is the underlying motivation behind this instructional practice. Let's take a look.
So this brings us to the conclusion of our massive open online course, 10 S95 Physics of COVID-19 Transmission. So let's briefly review what we've learned. We began by talking about respiratory pathogens, both bacteria and viruses. And in particular, we focused on viruses and understood how they can be transmitted through aerosol particles through infected indoor air. And this includes the important case of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. We then went on to use epidemiological models and fluid mechanical analysis of a well-mixed room to arrive at a universal indoor safety guideline to limit transmission of the disease. A very important
Okay, you got the concept, right?
For example, 6 feet, 1 meter, you cannot balance the ventilation rate, say a minimum
Hold on here.
linked. And
There we go. All right, so there's the 12 profiles. Martin Bazant. What is he? What is he? It seems to me like he might be a professor. You see up at the top, you want students to gain content knowledge by using media and technology to advance learning goals, right? So he's definitely in the business of helping students understand the physics of COVID transmission, and he wants them to understand that formula that is going to explain why you should stand 6 feet apart and be in a room with good ventilation, right? So he's motivated by wanting students to gain content knowledge. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. See if you can guess what's the motivation. What is the underlying motivation behind this instructional practice?
Greetings and welcome to my kitchen. I wanted to send you a little video postcard at the beginning of the semester because I felt that we needed to connect. This is a semester like none other, and I want you to just see me as a human. I am sitting in my kitchen, which is where I do most of my connecting with you. And I do want you to know that I don't want you to be shy about connecting. I'll be writing to you probably at the end of each week or Monday morning. Might also substitute a video postcard like this to kind of amplify some of the things we've been learning, to just take your temperature, to keep in touch. I realize that we have so many responsibilities that are even more pronounced this semester as parents, as partners, as employees, as employers, and as learners, of course. I need you to know that you can reach out to me. I have office.
Okay, so that's Joyce Valenza. Joyce Valenza, what's her motivational profile? Well, with this video, Joyce Valenza, an information literacy expert at Rutgers University, I think in this video, we see her playing the role of the spirit guide, right? See the heart shape, right? She's dedicated to helping students use media to support their social and emotional well-being. She's also demonstrating, I think, the motivational profile of the teacher 2.0. You help students use media and technology to connect with and learn from others as networked digital citizens. So both of those profiles seem to be operating as Joyce makes choices about why she's using digital media. All right, let's take a look at the third example. What's the underlying motivation behind this instructional practice?
Welcome to Stackspeditions, where we've been asking the nerdiest question: what is your favorite Library of Congress call number range? John, pick one out for our lucky winner today.
Elaine Harrington, what do you have in the 800s for Dewey? Thanks.
Oh, our nerdiest question is, what is your favorite Library of Congress call number range? Dewey. So, Elaine, we do actually have some books in Dewey. The oldest books at our library were cataloged in Dewey and never switched over to Library of Congress. So, whatever we find in the 800s in Dewey should be some really interesting materials that came in very early in the library's collection. John, you pick the call number range, so
Okay.
you should start.
All right, so I have a very long Latin title by
All
Horace.
right. By who?
Horace,
Horace.
1597. Ah, it's a plantain. Out of Lugduni. What do we know about that? I'm not aware of him ever being, that's Leon. And Plantain's office, I know it moved to Paris briefly. He was in Antwerp, but I don't know that he was ever in Lyon. Do not take from library.
Yeah, so this stamp is from before there was a special collections. But yeah, all the ones with the do not take from the library stamp are then before the 1950s.
Okay, this is the amazing Colleen Thiessen, and let's see if we can. Let's see if we can reflect on her. Let's see if we can reflect on her motivations. Colleen, what are her motivations? You know, it seems like she might be a tastemaker. She might be a tastemaker. Tastemakers want students to appreciate culturally important media in history, art, literature, and sciences, right? So Colleen's YouTube series, Stackspedition, showcases the amazing resources of the special collections at the University of Iowa University Library. She might also be a trendsetter. You know why I think that? Because a special collections librarian who starts a YouTube channel, I don't know. It just seems like she might be trying to meet students where they live by connecting the classroom to contemporary popular culture, right? She might be trying to build a bridge there between the special collection and the contemporary world students inhabit. Okay, so now we'll take a look at this next example. This is Carla Carter from the University of North Texas.
All right, so what are you most excited on this project?
On this project, the augmented reality aspect of it, and just mixing history and technology, and using that to help other people out.
What excites me most about this project so far is getting the first-hand accounts from both the interviews and reading the letters that Dr. Moten had, and just learning from the people themselves what it was like living in Freedmantown, Quakertown, and Solomon Hill.
I really like to talk to Billy Mohair, but also Willie Hudspeth. I think I'm really excited about talking about the politics in Denton and what he wants to change.
Probably just digging deep and finding this hidden backstory and just trying to figure out some first-hand accounts of what really went down.
I'm most excited about just the whole community. I feel like half the community knows a lot about the history and is really excited about it, and then the other half has no clue. So just to bring both of those communities together and share the stories and the history about it.
Okay, students from the University of North Texas interviewed residents of Denton's Black community and shared their stories. So what's the profile? What's the profile for Carla Carter? Well, I think it's obvious, right? She's an activist, right? She's supporting students' civic engagement by engaging with media and technology to address real world issues, right? And she might also be a bit of a professional, developing students' creative competencies and practical skills as future authors, artists, writers, or media professionals, right? So me, I'm a demystifier. I'm a motivator. Right? I use activities to try to get students to ask how and why questions. Often those questions have to do with the fundamental aspects of critically analyzing media texts in context. But my students have told me, my students are educators themselves, right? My students have told me something really important to keep in mind about reflecting on your motivations. Whether you're a spirit guide, an activist, a techie, or a watchdog, your context matters. It might depend on the workplace that you're in, right? So educators have told me, my boss wants me to be a techie, but I'm really a watchdog, right? My boss wants me to support the social and emotional needs of learners, but I'm really an activist. So it turns out that the motivations that you have for your why will depend on the context and the limitations of your role and responsibilities. That being said, once we conceptualize digital literacies and learning, not as a set of domains where you have to know ideas and possess content knowledge, but once we reframe toward thinking about our motivations, then we can be collegial. We can respect the activist, the trendsetter, the alt, knowing that those are unique identity positions in this work. And in my opinion, every student should encounter a faculty member or a librarian or an instructional technologist who is a watchdog, who is a trendsetter. When I think more broadly about digital media competencies in relation to people's motivations, I not only increase my appreciation for them as colleagues, but I also tend to become more intellectually curious about their work as well. So I gain more interest in learning. What are you doing in your classroom, and how are you doing it, and why are you doing it? And I don't feel as compelled to push my agenda onto other people. I feel more comfortable allowing them to embrace the approaches that align with their deepest values. Now, one of the best ways to create opportunities for people to display, reflect on, embody their deepest values is to use a digital media creative project. So if it's okay with you, we thought we would do that right now at the end of this talk. Because when teachers or students create digital media, it's a process of messy engagement. In fact, it's one of the reasons why educators are so gun shy about doing it, because, oh my gosh, people creating media, it could be chaotic. It might fail. And that's true. I have well documented how creating digital media as a pedagogy, as a create to learn pedagogy, involves some chaos, involves some risk. But at the same time, it activates play and pleasure, and it cultivates some trust and respect. And so I thought we could illustrate together that process at AMICAL. So here's your creative activity. I'd like you to make memes for whatever you call it. Information literacy, media literacy, news literacy, algorithm literacy, computational thinking, digital humanities, whatever it is. But I want you to make 3 memes, for whatever you call it, for the motivations that matter most to you now. Now, you know, a meme is a visual representation. It's a kind of like a propaganda leaflet in its best sense, right? So it relies on some appreciation for popular culture and some wordplay. So look at the one on the left. What if I told you All media messages contain embedded values and points of view. To understand this meme, you probably need to be familiar with a film called The Matrix, right? So that you recognize the authority figure who's depicted visually. Or the one on the right, you are about to enter a new dimension. Next stop, the media literacy zone. This one relies on your familiarity with an old TV show produced in the United States in the 1960s called The Twilight Zone, right? So the wordplay, the media literacy zone, playing on the title of the TV series, The Twilight Zone. Okay, so think about the terms that are most important to you and think about your motivations. Why, what is really motivating you? Are you an activist? Are you a trendsetter? Are you a professor? Are you a tastemaker, a demystifier? We're going to put you in groups of 3 or 4. We're going to ask you to create 3 or more memes about why you value, insert your preferred term here. Be school appropriate and be creative. Try to express the motivations that matter most to you in a playful or humorous way. You can choose to use 2 meme making tools. And Chris, I think you're putting the assignment with those links into the chat right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. They're there.
So you're going to take some time to try out one of these meme making tools. You go to the meme making tool, you pick an image, you put a message at the top, you put a message at the bottom, you take a screenshot, and then you share it on the Padlet wall. Why am I asking you to make 3? Well, because you're playing, you're having fun. Most of your memes are going to be terrible. They're not going to be good, but that's the creative process. Think about the writer's room, right? Play together, have some fun together, and then pick one that you like to put up on the Padlet wall. Now, give me a thumbs up if you understand the task at hand. We're only going to give you 10 minutes to do this project, and then we're going to come back and see what you created. Okay, looks like people are kind of ready. Looks like people are kind of ready. So, Chris, you can put us into small groups. We'll take about 10 minutes, work together. Hey, listen, if you find yourself in an empty room, just come back to the main room here. All right. So have fun. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Renee, this is Chris. I think you were going to put them in rooms.
Oh yes, good show. I am going to put you in rooms. That's right. I forgot. Thank you for.
I was going to put them in outer space.
No worries. No worries. I was just looking at this. I can take care of it. This is Alex. Just let me know. Is it for 10 minutes?
It's for 10 minutes.
And 3 to 4 participants in a room?
It's 3 to 4 participants in a room. I think that's 17 breakout rooms. There we go. I'm opening up the rooms. Ready?
Okay, go for it.
Set, go. Join a room and do some playing. Make a meme or 2 or 3 and make a new friend while you're at it. Okay, if you're hanging out here with me in this room, that's because you want to make memes with me, which is cool. So, so why don't we get started, shall we? Let's see if I can share my screen with you. I'll go to Google, and then I'm going to try that make a meme, funny memes and meme generator. Ooh, I like this one. Jackie Chan, why? So let's see here. Let's see. Too many literacies. Oh, maybe not too many. So many literacies. So many literacies. What's your why? Let's see what happens when I make that meme. Oh, I like it. Isn't that great? Okay, so I'm going to cut and paste that here. Let me just make a little list there. That looks great. And then where am I going? I'm going to share your meme on the Padlet wall. I'm going to go right up here. Okay, there I am on the Padlet wall. I think you guys can see my screen now, right? So I'm going to upload, pick the file. I'm going to make this screenshot. I'm going to open it. There we go. So many literacies. What's your why? Beautiful. Now let me go back and do another one. I'm not really crazy about this meme generator. I'm going to try the other one. Make a meme. Well, maybe I'll try this one. Create meme. Ooh, an ad. Yuck. Oh my gosh. I'm going to try IMG Flip meme generator. I like this one a little bit better. Oh, this is good. Look at that. Who would win? And then I would really like to put another one. How can I add another one of these things? Add text. Yeah, there we go. Ooh. I want to put that one down. How do I move that down? That's good. Okay, I'm going to generate the meme there. Maybe I'll put this up a little bit higher. That's good. Okay. You can kind of tell I've had a lot of experience with meme making, can't you? Yes, I have, because I have found that meme making is a complex rhetorical form. It takes a lot of practice to make a meme. But studying propaganda, as I have become very aware of the way in which memes activate strong emotions. And okay. All right. So we've got some memes coming up already. That's good. Let's try another one. Make another. Let's make another. I'm going to go join
sorry to interrupt, but you're muted. We're missing all of this.
All of my commentary here, I'm talking to myself. I'm so Iman, thank you so much for
You're welcome.
I was chatting around and looking at these wonderful examples. They're coming quite a lot of them. I said, this one is my favorite. Which literacy is an imposter among us? They are all of one family. That's a major idea. I think this one is also very related to what I talked about in the session, right? Is there are so many literacies, but you can get clarity by thinking about your own motivation. And I think I'm gonna close all the rooms. Okay, it looks like everybody is back. Is that true? Are you guys all back? Let's see here. It looks like you're all back, and I'm going to make my conclusion now, right? I was waiting for everybody to come back, and then I realized, oh, everybody was back. That's great. Okay, so what I think is absolutely adorable, as you can see from our creative screen, is that I have a lot of new friends here at AMICAL. You are spirit guides, you are tastemakers, you are alts, you are professors, right? And we do not and should not be in competition about which of the literacies is better. Okay, the reality of it is our motivation. First of all, I love this one. Bravo to this team. Which literacy is an imposter among us? They are all one family. Love that. Love that. It's not a competition. We don't have, it's unproductive for us to argue between ourselves. Thinking about your fundamental motivation is going to allow you to choose pedagogies that work for you. Embrace your inner motivator. Embrace your spirit guide, right? And be courageous, right? Be courageous enough to pay attention to your own values and appreciate the colleagues around you who bring their own values into this important and complex work. Thanks very much.
Thank you. That was fabulous. Really enjoyed that. Alex, did we want to open the floor here for questions or?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do we have any questions to start off?
So if folks can maybe post them in the, just type them in the chat. Or I don't know, maybe unmute them. I don't know. Chris, up to you how you want to handle them.
Yeah, if you want to speak up, please do so. Raise your hand. Yeah. The chat is having a good time.
Noor, what's your question?
Yes, thanks, Renee, for such a nice presentation and many of the ideas. I want to ask that how to, you said that we are not in competition, but how one realizes as a faculty member or a librarian that we can contribute together, because over here we find it very difficult to collaborate with the faculty, especially on these ideas. They say we don't have much time in our classroom, we cannot invite you in the classroom, we cannot develop something. So how to make this collaboration really happen?
Yeah, you know, I actually believe that the motivational profile is very useful for supporting collaboration, because often I am not aware of what the values are that are driving my potential colleagues. Sometimes when I come into a potential collaboration, there is a values clash. My colleague, the professor, wants to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't think that's a good idea. I would rather do this because it's aligned with my values. So that already makes for a fraught collaboration, doesn't it? So when we adopt a stance of intellectual curiosity toward our collaborators, when we want to understand their why, right? And when we can help them to clarify their why, then we're better able to support them. So librarians have told me that the motivational profiles is a good tool to get the faculty member to be thinking about what is their real reason for using these tools. Like, what's their real reason? And that actually can, because you know what? Many faculty never get asked about their why. You know, I'm teaching the physics of COVID because that's what I've been assigned to do. I've always taught it. I've always, you know, I have to teach this. I teach it because it's something, it's required in the course syllabus. It's asking faculty what their why is actually a gift you're offering them, right? And they appreciate the chance to reflect on what is their real motivation. And so I think the motivational profile might be a tool that you could use to open up dialogue with faculty, and then also reflect on your own values and check your own privilege, right? Yeah. I've discovered I'm a demystifier, true and true. I want everybody to ask how and why questions all the time, but I'm not very effective mentoring somebody if that's not their thing, right? I have to stand in a position of openness toward their thing. If they're an activist or a trendsetter, or if they're a spirit guide, I have to stand in a position of intellectual curiosity about their thing and not try to impose my thing. That's my suggestion about how to deal with the fact that collaboration is hard. That's a good question. Who's got another question?
We have Maha up next, and then we have Ragda and Jeff.
I'll be very quick. That was fantastic, Renee, as expected, but I learned so much more than I imagined. And I was wondering about the set your motivation. Part of it, I was thinking that a lot of it would apply even outside of the area of digital and media literacy. Like, you know, if you're an activist, you're an activist, and technology is just an add-on to that. And I was also curious about whether, I know it's more teacher-centric and oriented towards the educator, but I was wondering if there's a way to use it with students in two ways, and I'm wondering if you've done that. Like, what's their motivation?
What a great question. What a great question, Maha. I've only ever used it with educators. I've never used it with my own communication or media students, but you're right that some of these issues probably do transcend, and it might be adapted for a broader purpose there. For my goals, getting people to reflect on their getting people to realize that you're happiest when your values and your behaviors are lined up, right? So, and to realize that if you are an activist, but your curriculum does not let you do activism, you are not going to be happy, right? If you're a spirit guide, but you can't provide the emotional support to students that they need, you're not going to be happy, right? So it's really it's an instrument that's really rooted in my experience of working with mid-career professionals who sometimes need to be reminded, why are we doing what we're doing? And I think it's also good for leadership. It's also could be good for leadership and helping develop a team that embraces difference. Like, for instance, when my boss hates me being a demystifier and thinks it's stupid, trivial, it's not important, he wants me to be a professor and to deliver content and to transmit content, right? If my boss doesn't respect my why, then I'm not going to be happy in my job. So, but I do think it could be adapted to other purposes, Mahai. I let you do that. You do that and tell me how it works out. Who's got another question? Or
Ragda has a question in the chat. Is it the same one, Ragda, that you want to speak?
Actually, I would like to add something here. So you were talking about how frustrating it would be if your boss is not appreciating your why. But what if your students are not appreciating your why? Like, what if I am the guide or the spirit guide, but my students want me to be a professional or expect me to be that? And
this is a great point. So this ties up to Maha's idea that
exactly this is what I
in some ways students need to be appreciative. I wonder if students could play a game of matching. Think of your professors that you have this semester. And think of how they're using media and technology. What are they? I wonder if there's a way to get students to be metacognitive about the choices that their faculty are making. Because you're right, if the students think that only professor is the only role there is, they are really missing out on all the ways that learning can happen through the different value positions that are part of being an educator. So I think that's a great, I wonder, now I'm really thinking that's a really cool idea to introduce students to this idea.
Chris, I see you talking. But...
Yes, Jeff, sorry, yes, Jeff, you have your hand raised. Sorry, please go ahead.
Sure, I think it can be really brief because Renee already partly answered this. But I wanted to thank you so much. It was a really fabulous session. And one thing it offers me is a way to help faculty not work against, but answer back to strategic plans that are very, very reductive about what teaching motivations might be. I think those documents tend to be, and it's a beautiful, beautiful mechanism for recognizing the value of diversity of motivations for education, being conscious about them, talking about them together. So thank you so much. I use it as a resistant tool.
Yeah, Jeff, I really love that. I feel your inner activist in that comment, so I appreciate that. It is true that those statements developed by leaders they're cold, right? They're cold, they're distant. And I personally think about how I benefited from, as an undergraduate student, I benefited from getting exposed to an activist, to a tastemaker, to a professor, to a trendsetter, to a spirit guide. I actually feel like students need to encounter all of those motivational profiles, and that at different points in my life, I've been different of those things, right? When I was young, right, I was much more of a trendsetter because I actually knew students' popular culture. Now I can hardly keep up with it, right? So I do feel like recognizing that our own motivations may change over the course of our career, with our obligations and with our responsibilities, that also lets us think about the way we can be our best selves at work and in the world outside of work as well.
and that also leads into a chat from Ola. Do you think, I think you've kind of already addressed this, do you think it's healthy to change your whys every now and then? Or is it just a confusion that you're not able to stick with your whys?
Oh, what a great question. Chris, I think your whys have a lot to do with the cultural context, which is why I started my talk talking about polarization and insurrection and racial justice and fake news and disinformation. So I think your whys are contextual in relation to what's happening in the world right now. So yeah.
Thank you, Ola. That was a chat question from Ola. Anyone else?
Does the why change according to your type of students? Marwa, this is a great question. I want to call your attention to the article, and I'm gonna put the URL, or I'm gonna put the citation. Hold on, let me see if I can find the citation. I'm gonna put the citation into the chat, because that's what we found in our research, right? What we found in our research was, this was 2,800 Turkish educators. And what we found was that the language arts teachers were demystifiers, and the ICT teachers were techies, and the social studies teachers were activists. And this was in Turkey before the purge. So yes, the why probably represents both your disciplinary background sometimes and your training, your role and position in your job, the cultural context in which you work, and possibly, and also the students you teach.
Yep. I have put, Renee, I put your slides into the chat, the link to the slides. Anyone else as we round up here, finalize things? All right, well, thank you so much. That was just absolutely wonderful, dazzling. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us today.